Hi, everybody. This is, I have to say, of all of the lives I've done so far, this is the one I'm just going to shoot straight with you. It is the one that I am the most nervous about, but also it is the one that I'm the most excited about because I do feel like, and I've read a lot of these comments, guys. First of all, welcome back to Live with Heidi. This is kind of this was an unexpected one. I will tell you that. Like I knew this week I was going to do a solo live. I knew I was going to be my own guest. What I did not know is that we would be making the announcement before this live, in full transparency. And I do want you guys to know on here, I will be as transparent as possible without stepping over lines, and without disrespecting anybody. There's a lot of people to consider in this. There is myself, obviously, which is very important in my world. There is my kids. There are my kids who are extremely important in my world. There are both of one ex-husband and then Chris, they're all very important. And I just want you guys to know, I will answer questions. I will. However, I want to make sure that today is not just about my divorce and what's going on in my personal life, but I actually, and hey, some of the stuff I talk about might be related to that. But I do want you guys to know that I hope that every single person can walk away from today feeling good and learning something, because I am a firm believer that tragedy is all over in life. Like sad things happen all the time and they are unavoidable, whether it's a death in the family or divorces or whatever. I mean, broken hearts, lost jobs, this pandemic, like there is so much craziness. But I really, really, really firmly believe that it is in these times that we are able to learn the most about who we are, what we are made of. And we are able to take those lessons and spread them to everybody in our lives and create a better world all around. So guys, and I also believe that even in the harshest of circumstances, there is so much beauty. And I have to say, when I created this live, the first few times, and I would talk about it, like I did this because I believe in the ability to find the roses in the thorn bush, or to find the light in the darkness, or see how the glass is half full, not half empty. So I do want you guys to know, as I speak about things, I don't ever want anything to come across as me being callous to a situation, because I'm not. I am a very emotional, I'm a very sensitive person. However, I also believe that my life is as happy as I choose to make it. I was actually just telling a friend the other night, I said, I'm not good at a lot of things, but the one thing I think I'm better at than anybody else that I know is living a happy life. I really, truly believe that is the one thing I can do better than any single person that I know, with maybe the exception of my mom. I feel like you could put me in any situation, any, and nobody will ever, ever, ever distract me from living my happiest, most peaceful life. In the midst of chaos and having babies and kidney surgeries and divorces and deaths. I mean, there's been a lot, and hey, I know there's going to be more to come, and I know there are a lot of people watching this. I just want to be sensitive, that have experienced the worst of the worst of the worst, and I really do feel for you. So my hope today is to maybe share a little bit of who I am and what goes on inside of this probably crazy brain, and give you a little piece of my life. So thanks for letting me just vomit all over you right there. I am a little bit nervous for this live. I'm scared. And what am I scared of? Guys, and I say this so you know that I'm human. I am scared of the comments. I'm just scared. This is a very uncertain time in my life. There is fear. And I'm not somebody who says, oh, you shouldn't have fear. No, I actually love fear and I embrace fear, because what fear does is it drives me, it invigorates me, it reminds me that I am human, and reminds me that, that the scariest things in life, I believe the scariest things in life are the things that we should do the most. They are the things that shape us, they drive us, and they define who we are, not only to other people, but more importantly, they define who we are to ourselves. I didn't always think that way, but I do now. And I have to say, I don't know if you guys caught my Instagram story, but I was actually in the car about an hour and a half ago, and I was doing my makeup because that's where I always do my makeup in the morning. That's just my thing. I get really good lighting in the car. And my kids always kind of climb in. My kids know that like my car is my mobile office. It's serene, it's quiet. Derrick always jokes to me, he's like, I just need to get you a pod where you can just go sit in there. But I love my car. I was doing my makeup and Marley's like, hey, you know, what are you getting ready for? Are you just getting ready for the day? Because they know I don't put makeup on if I don't have something on camera to do. And I said, I'm doing a live, Mars. And she's like, are you okay? And I said, yeah. I said, I'm just really, really, really nervous today. I'm scared for this because I feel like it's important that my kids know my feelings and they know my heart. And she said, why are you scared? And I said, well, this is the first time I've gone live since the announcement. And, you know, I'm nervous. Like I'm human. And it was the sweetest thing. She turned to me and she's like, Mom, just speak from your heart. If you just speak from your heart, people will know who you are and they'll love it. And I have to try not to get a little bit emotional over that because I do get emotional over it because it is, I am proud. I know I talk about my kids a lot on social media and I don't think I do them justice. And I think for the people watching my stories and the people, I should say for the people that know me and that are here in my life, they can attest to the fact that my kids they are special people. They are. And I firmly believe that because you look at this whole situation, you think, gosh, they're going through a lot, and they are going through a lot, and they are going through a lot, and they are insanely loved by a lot of people. And I believe they were given to me for a reason. And I believe I was given to them for a reason. I believe they have Derrick as a dad for a reason. I believe they have Chris as a dad for a reason, because we all do make a perfectly modern blended family. We really do. And they are special little souls that get me through a lot. And I also know that I get them through a lot. So anyway, a quote that came up to me this morning when I was and Marley had said that, it's a John Wayne quote that I love. It's courage is being scared to death, but saddling up anyway. And that is something I heard recently and I love it. Like I live by it. So while I'm scared to death, I do know, and I'm not afraid to say, I don't think this is an ego thing. I am a courageous person, and I am a courageous person because I choose to be one. And that is one of my own affirmations that I try and repeat every single day. I have courage. I do courageous things. Like if I want to be a courageous person, I got to do courageous things. I have complete control over that. And I refuse to be anything other than that, not only for myself, but for my kids. So all that being said, you guys, I do want to ask you, I know we're already 8-9 minutes in, but please, please, please be respectful. I don't even think, I'm reading your comments here, guys. I don't think I need to say this, but I'm going to say it anyway, because I'm a mom. And even if I don't think my kids need to hear something, I say it anyway. I can't control your comments, but I can control who gets a seat at my table. And that's something, as a people pleaser, that's been a really hard thing for me to learn in life. I thought everybody deserved a seat at my table, but they don't. And I'm so blessed and I am so honored to have you guys at my table right now. And I want you to know, as long as you are respectful, as long as you are kind, as long as you don't try to hurt me, I don't even care if you try to hurt me, but I don't want you to try and hurt my kids. I don't want you to hurt anybody else on this live. I don't want you to attack anyone's comments. I don't want you to attack Derrick or Chris or anything. I am okay with controversial questions, but you should know if there's anything mean, you will lose a seat at this table. And I have people watching right now that will snipe you. They will Zoom snipe you and they will pull you off of this podcast, this platform. So anyway, I just want to appreciate you guys and just say thank you ahead of time. And I this is funny, Derrick, you're probably going to laugh at this. As you know, Derrick, who is my ex-husband, is behind the camera. Can you just come say hi real fast on every single one of these lives? Every one of them. Say hi. Here he is. Baby daddy number one. That was a question that people asked.
Yes.
Who are Maddox and Marley's dad? So this is Derrick. He's behind the scenes on every single one of these lives. And you'll get I'm sure Derrick knows I have a plan today. He does, because I have a plan. Today's not supposed to be about the divorce or my divorces, plural, because now I am that person that is treading into numero dos. I do have a plan for what I want to say, what I want to talk about, and where I want to go. And I also want to answer questions. But one thing you should know about me, that Derrick is he knows, obviously. While I have a plan, I remain very flexible in my approach. And sometimes that can completely alter the entire plan and the entire outcome. And the reason for that is because I do like to feel the room. I am a feeler. I like to feel the room. I like to feel my feelings. I like to feel what I feel like other people might feel, like Derrick and Chris, who I care very much about, and my kids as they're listening to this. And I will always tweak, I will always deviate as needed and navigate to get to where I feel like this needs to go. And you guys, you need to know, I care about you too. I care about what you guys get out of this. I care about how you feel. And on that note, I do want to say, I had mentioned, we didn't plan on doing this announcement when we did. And we really didn't. We knew it was going to happen. We thought it was going to happen. Um, and there was a part of us, because I believe that we all deserve privacy. I do, in our lives. And that's been really hard. Obviously, I'm a very public person, but I also believe that, when Chris and I would talk through, okay, do we really need to let the world know what's going on? Is it their business? We also realize that you guys are incredible. You guys are family. You guys are friends. You guys are wonderful people. And Chris and I made the choice 12 years ago to start living a life in the public eye. We made the choice to share our lives with you, and you all have been so kind and so generous with the space that you give us. And you've also been kind and generous with what you show to us. And so for us, we felt like we never wanted you to feel like we weren't being truthful and honest. And you should know, because I get one of the questions I get a lot. Have you guys tried working through this? Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Neither Chris nor I are quitters. And I really do want to reframe today the word fail. Like, I don't feel like Chris and I failed. I don't. Has it been emotional? Yes. Like, it has been a really, really, really emotional year. It's been an emotional couple years. But it's been an emotional marriage. I think marriage in general, whether you stay married or you don't, or whether you have a happy marriage or you have a terrible marriage, however you look at it, it is stressful, and it's emotional. And I want you guys to know that, like, even with that though, like, for us, I do not believe, neither does Chris, I don't believe that we failed. I actually think that right now, Chris and I are succeeding at our relationship. Our relationship is the most between me and Chris, how we relate and who we are is the most important thing between us. It is. And within that, it is, we are parents together. We are business partners together. We are friends together, and we were married together, right? And to us, just because the world might view a piece of paper that binds us together as most important for us, we understand that the most important thing for me and Chris is finding a way to create peace between us, create peace between Chris and myself, create peace between Chris, myself, and our 4 kids, create peace between Chris, myself, 4 kids, my ex-husband, and then also extending into businesses, like how all these different hats that Chris and I wear together. It's very, very, very important to both of us that we do it in a way that creates the most peace. And for us, it's been a lot, like I said, a lot of emotion, a lot of trial and error, a lot of therapy, a lot of guidance, and a lot of trying different things out. It's like when you get on a diet, you don't try a diet, stick to it for if something's not working, if there's an imbalance, if you're feeling like there's a lack of peace or your plan's not working, you're going to start figuring out okay, where's the imbalance? What's not working? You're going to start troubleshooting. And for us, we found a place where he and I really can completely love each other for who we really are. I know I was sharing on a podcast before we broke the news, that mine and Chris's relationship is something that is so much deeper. And I think we said it in our statement. Our relationship is so much deeper than a piece of paper. 100. It's so much deeper than what the courts could ever tell us is most important. And our relationship it is a true partnership. It is a true friendship. Okay, cool. I got a note. It is a true partnership. It is a true friendship. And it is something that I will do whatever I can. And I know Chris will do the same to make sure it stays amazing and peaceful and fruitful for everybody involved, including you guys. And it's, I think, just sidestepping over into, you know, how my relationship is with Derrick, who is my ex-husband. And I feel like that there's some things that I can answer about that. Who is Derrick? There's a lot of people asking who Derrick is. Derrick is my ex-husband. Derrick is the father of Maddox and Marley, my two oldest. And I'll just be honest, we didn't always have a great relationship. He and I went through probably, what, 5 years, Derrick? 5 years that were really, really, really tough for us. Chris, you can totally come in and sit. 5 years that were really hard for us. But we knew that the most important thing for us were in his and my relationship, the most important thing for us were our kids. And I give credit to, I can't give credit. I wish I could take credit. I wish I could say, hey, we have a wonderful relationship today because of how I am, but it's not true. We have a wonderful relationship today because of who Derrick is, who Chris has been and is with Derrick. And I mean, I just don't screw it up. I'm like, just don't screw this up. They're really, 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 but it really does take all parties in any situation, understanding you have to be able to drop your ego. You have to be able to drop your pride. You have to drop being right. And you have to make a priority your kids, make a priority your own happiness. If you don't have kids, make a priority your own happiness, because if you are sitting there stewing in what everybody else is, you know, or stewing on what they did that you can't control, you will never, ever, ever be happy. And I am so grateful Derrick and I have gotten to a place where not only are we peaceful, but he truly, honest to goodness, is one of my best friends. And I am so grateful for him. And the question that's come up on social media a lot, I'll just freaking nip that in the bud right now. No, Derrick is not. We are not an item. And we are so, our relationship has found a balance that works for us. And it's a wonderful balance. And Derrick, actually, just so you understand, he works with us as well. So it's kind of crazy because he's worked with me on and off for years, but he works with me directly with my, he is my brand manager and does a lot of my business operation stuff. And then separately, he also does a lot of work with Chris and Transform. And, you know, just, it's kind of this crazy little like triangle. So he works with me on one element, Chris on another, and then Chris and I obviously work together on Transform. So we literally do create this little triangle. So for people asking if Derrick's been quarantining with us, kind of. I mean, he just doesn't sleep here. So he has been here though all day, every day since about maybe even before quarantine, because we do have a really great dynamic. And also, I'm just going to pay Derrick some more credit right now. He is a good guy. He really is. And he has his priorities very straight. And I always value his advice. And he is somebody I know if I'm out of balance, he will say, hey, Heidi, like, you're doing great. You are working really hard. Hey, the kids need you more. Like Maddox needs you more. And I value that so much. I am a firm believer that you surround yourself with people that will call you on your shit and make you level up and be a better person. And he is for me. He helps remind me that all of this right here and all of this right here really doesn't mean anything, you know? And what does mean the most are my kids. And I can say, I truly believe that for as long as I can remember, I think Derrick has always had my best interest at heart, always. And I don't think it's, even if at times it wasn't because he was happy with me, because divorce sucks. It just does, no matter what. But it's because he loves his kids. And I remember he would say to me, he'd say, hey, like, you and I might be in a fight. You might be mad at me. I might be mad at you. But at the end of the day, I love my kids. And because I love my kids, I love their mom and I want their mom to be happy. And that means a lot. So Chris was kind of the mediator between Derrick and I back in the day. He was like, okay, Derrick, you tell your side, Heidi, you tell your, and he kind of helped bring us together. And now it's kind of flip-flopped a little bit. And Derrick has been my, emotional support and Chris's emotional support. And then I have to say too, Chris and I have both been each other's emotional support as well. And I feel like we're in a very different place in our life right now. Chris, do you want to sit in? Chris is here, guys. Should we bring Chris in? Should we bring? He's sitting here just watching me.
What's going on in here, huh?
Oh, Derrick is giving us direction. Come here. Come here, Christopher.
Hold on. Do I get
Wait, this is my bad side. Why don't you come on this?
No.
This is my line.
No. This is my good side.
Hey, this is true. This is true love. This is Chris. You know I freaking love you when I'm giving you my good side.
And,
oh boy.
And your earpiece.
I know. And this is my bad ear. I can't hear that well in this ear.
I sacrificed.
Oh, wait, I'm not listening to anything.
I sacrificed the good side for 10
you
years.
Did. This is so as we were kind of determining what to do with our relationship and figure out the direction to go. And guys, I do need you to know this is not a joking matter to us. However, you need to know we are truly, really, really, really great friends. But one of the things Chris joked about.
That's what we joke. Like, honestly, because we're good friends, we have joked through this whole thing. And sometimes we
have days. We have days where I'm like, okay, I need to walk away. You need to walk away.
For sure. But sometimes it's you laugh not to cry.
But tell him the joke. Tell him what.
Which one?
The real funny one. No, hold on. One of the jokes is we knew kind of what it was going this way. He's like, Heidi, for 12 years, I have given up my good side for you. I am finally taking it back.
I know.
Because this is my good side.
Notice this, our very first appearance with me on this side.
Here, I'm going to scoot over a little bit. Oh yeah.
Look at that angle.
I know.
It's
look
amazing.
at. See, my hair goes in my face on this side, so it's going to cover me up. But yeah, I do. I was obviously, you were sitting here while I was talking about Derrick, and I think it's really important for people to know just who he is to both of us. And because there are a lot of questions. Actually, the questions have been coming through on social media as who is the other guy?
Oh,
he's only one of the most important parts of our family. Yeah.
Great dude. So Derrick and I have gotten along from day one. And which is amazing. And it's funny, I actually heard Heidi just talking about how I was kind of the mediator between the two of them, and then
Derrick's nodding really hard in the background.
Over the last year or so, the roles have reversed, and he's 100% been the mediator, but also just the guide through this for both of us. And obviously, like his intentions were just to help through the whole thing. And at first it was to help see if we could make things work. And then after that, it was just support us as we go through this transition. But genuinely, and I posted about this just the other day, but like he's one of my best friends and just a genuinely great man and a amazing father. And so it's just, I mean, just me speaking personally, I'm blessed to have him in my life because he's helped me so much over the last 10 years and even more so over the last year. So.
I love that. And I want to, I also think just as you kind of see me and Chris, are you close enough here? Let me scoot over a little bit.
Any closer here.
Come on, get closer.
Oh, okay.
I'm kidding. Okay. Like this. Are we good?
There we go.
One thing I do want to point out is I'm going to address this first because there are a lot of questions about, is Transform changing? Absolutely not. I need you guys to know that. So if anybody on here is with Transform and that was the question you wanted answered, I can assure you there will be zero changes. And again, what many of you guys didn't know is Chris and I have been working through this stuff for a very, very long time. We had a pretty good idea of where we were going, but we obviously wanted to be very certain, and we didn't want to involve the world in our decision because we don't need to. And we don't, believe it or not, we don't like drama. And so we like to the point where, and I also have to say, since we've been working through this and since we knew the direction, I believe it's safe to say yours and my relationship has gotten even better in the ways that it needed
100%. 100%. It's been better in the last, probably in the last 5 to 6 months.
Yeah, there were a few really rough months.
We've just come to peace with this and figuring out how the transition is going to happen. But when it comes to Transform, it's only going to get bigger and better. I mean, the growth has just been amazing. And remember, guys, this is our mission, and this is our mission even before we came together. And it's not going to stop. Like we've committed our lives to doing this for the rest of our lives. And so again, we're just getting started there, and it's going to be amazing. And the funny thing about Transform it in and of itself, if you guys actually get like the inner workings of it and all the individuals involved in the company of Transform, we are one massive modern family. I mean, we've got Derrick, we've got our next door neighbor, Sunny, and then with the rest of the team, we've got parents, cousins, brothers. Like Transform is just
uncles.
this.
We got uncles.
We do have uncles. Like Transform is a
It is a
family.
family. Yeah.
And it is the most amazing family ever. And we all love what we're doing and this mission that we're on. And just look out. It's going to get really, really good.
Yeah, I think a lot of people, and I have this conversation with Chris quite a bit. Actually, I just talked to you about it, I think last night, or I don't know, maybe it was today. All my days run together. But I think the world just has a drastically different idea or thought about what divorce is. And maybe it's because that's how the world has seen it. That's how we've been programmed to believe divorce needs to be. And I think, fair to say, like the first time around, I'm like officially a pro, I think, at this. Not that I want to be, let me just make that clear. But the first time around, I was not like, our divorce, Derrick's and mine, was probably more like most divorces that you think of. It wasn't pretty at all. And there was, attorneys were getting involved, and we were pulling people on our sides, and it affected the kids. I have guilt that I've had to work through to this day because of how I handled some of those things negatively. I want to blame age, but I think I just was flat out stupid with some of how I handled things. And I will say I have learned from it. And Derrick and I repairing our relationship has taught me a lot about what divorce can be like. And I am super proud about who I am. We are all still a family, and Chris and I are still a family, and we are crystal clear about the fact that we will always, always, always be a family. And I think for anybody contemplating a divorce or going through one, I think it's very important that you recognize, as much as you want to get rid of the other person, which I don't want to get rid of him. Like, let me make that crystal clear. But the reality is, you guys are forever stuck together if you have kids. You are. And I feel like for me, what has been so eye-opening is when I have not been kind to Derrick, because there have been times where I have not been kind. Derrick, no, and and
he's literally just stone faced. He's like,
there was hurt on both sides. I'm sure Derrick has things he regrets doing. He's nodding in the background, really big. I'm kidding. He does not. You're good. We all have things that we wish but we wouldn't. I think for both of us, the reality that our actions were 1,000,000% impacting our kids, not only their happiness at that point, and I'm getting chills, not only their happiness, but I believe it also impacted the development of my children. And I had things that, probably up until a few years ago, that I still really, really, really struggled with, feeling like, oh my gosh, so this child is this way because of my divorce with Derrick and how that went. And so granted, I believe kids are they're gonna, we all have what happened moments in our life. It doesn't matter how perfect our marriage is, there's still going to be a what happened moment. And I do know that was mine, but what I can do is I can learn from it, and I can recreate what the word divorce is. I hate that word. I do. And I'm going to freaking scratch divorce. How about we not even use it? What's happening is our relationship is evolving and transforming because it's allowed to, because we have the right to, in an effort to find peace.
You used the word life partner the other day. And I think it's really appropriate because we are partners in life. And like, this is obviously, like I just talked about, our mission is something that we committed to. And so we're going to be doing this forever. But obviously, as far as parents and everything, so we're in this. Do I need water?
No, I just.
Okay.
No, I was going to take a sip. Go ahead.
Thank you. Yeah. So just as I was saying, like we're life partners in this whole process, and at the same time, you were talking about attorneys and everything. I'm not saying this is the best thing to do if you're going through any kind of situation like this yourself, but we actually opted not to get attorneys involved at all, and because we could just work through everything ourselves. And so that's what we've done. In fact, we just said, you know what, instead of giving the money to an attorney, let's give the money to our counselor. Yeah, like to our therapist.
She's made a lot of money.
You know,
if you're watching,
and we've saved a fortune.
We have, actually.
Also, and not just a fortune financially, but like a fortune emotionally.
I think it's actually built
been
us
so much better going through this process and learning so much about myself. Obviously, you're on the own journey, learning about yourself and learning how we can make this happen and keep it so amazingly amicable for the kids' sake. And so, yeah, no, I wouldn't change a thing for where we're at right now.
And I think a question that is probably in a lot of your guys' heads, and I've seen it pop up, is there a child getting in the bath right now? Is that loud? Are we okay with that? There's a bathroom right there behind that wall. I think we're okay if you guys are okay. But I think a question that's going to come up a lot is why. There's a big why. And I, to that, my biggest answer is our quest together, I should say individually, is not, I guess you could say it might be for happiness, but I believe I already am a very happy person no matter what. But I believe our quest individually is each for peace, right? And not only peace in ourselves, but peace inside of our family dynamic, inside of our home. And we do so much together, so much. We are business partners. I kind of laid these out. We are friends. We are brands. We are brands together. We are co-employees. I mean, there are so many different roles. And we also were husband and wife. And I think it's been pretty clear over social media over the past, I don't know how long. If there is one thing we felt like we were constantly failing at, it was that expectation of marriage that we had, and what was happening, no matter how much we try and kind of reset and be like, hey, let's try this. The reality is we were never independently and together. We never quite felt like we could do it well enough. And that would result in broken integrity and feelings of not being good enough. And it created bits and pieces of us that neither of us really appreciated or liked. And I brought it up to Chris. I said, it's almost like when there's like a cancer in one area of your body, if you don't attack it and if you don't figure it out, that cancer will spread. And that toxicity was slowly seeping into other areas of our life. And most importantly into our relationships with our kids and our family dynamic, because we do so much together. We didn't know where the line was. We had a really hard time creating the line. There wasn't much space for us. And it did start trickling in areas and negatively affecting, like a cancer would, business. It started negatively affecting how we respected and viewed each other. And that's kind of what started our quest for K.
Even like our parenting approach.
Yeah.
And we started locking horns over parenting and the choices that were being made with the kids. And
those are all figure outable, but it just was like really.
But it wasn't, even through our therapy, it wasn't getting better. And it's like, I'll be the first to say, we're also like, Heidi is a captain in her world, and I'm kind of a captain in my own world. You put these two captains together without spending too much time focusing on a relationship and nurturing that.
Yeah, I think the most important thing too is just there wasn't peace in any area. So what we decided to do was, hey, let's try out a bunch of different things, and let's find. And I know that was, Chris's your thing. You wanted to feel like a better version of yourself, and as hard as things and the reality was for both of us in very different ways. We also both, and maybe I speak for myself, but I also know you feel the same way. I do love Chris so much that I understand his needs for certain things, and he loves and respects me so much he understands my needs for things to be a certain way. And I know that's a very vague answer, and but I also just want. So yes, the 30-day challenge. That was a question that came up. Why don't you just try the 30-day challenge again and fix everything? I have my thoughts on the 30-day challenge.
Well, that'd be a little complicated now.
Well, it wouldn't. I mean, it wouldn't be complicated,
It's true.
but
It's true.
but it really wouldn't. I will say so. Yes, and there was a post I put out. I don't know if it was a year ago or 2 years ago, where we truly a couple years ago. I basically talked about how Chris and I were in a parking lot of an attorney's office, and we were ready for divorce back then, and we decided to give. And this marriage is marriage. I mean, anyone that's married is probably like, yeah, I've been there. I've been there. Like, it's just most people have. So it's nothing. I think people, because you see our highlights on social media, you don't assume or don't think that we've been there. We have. And for us, that it was our next door neighbor, Sonny, who was like, hey, I want you to try this. And he kind of became one of our counselors. And it was essentially for 30 days, you have sex every single day. And I raved about it last year or 2 years ago. And I said, hey, it really did save our marriage. And it wasn't the active sex that saved our marriage. What it was, I believe, it was the time that we took out for each other uninterrupted by everyday life. And it was you and I, you know, it was a connection. Yeah.
And even though admittedly 20 of those 30 days we were probably fighting.
Yes. Really bad. Like fighting up until the bedroom, and we're like, get this over with right now.
And then we spent a lot of time like laughing after that at how silly those little things are. But
I believe, yes, I think that for us, for everybody, it's going to be something different. For us, because it was a temporary Band-Aid. And like Chris was saying, for 20 or 25 of the 30 days, we were at each other. We were, dealing with a lot. And then that connection would almost make us forget about it. But the reality is, as we kind of analyze it now, it's like those issues were still there. Mm-hmm. And what was happening is every day we were kind of sweeping them under the rug because we had connection. And then but the issues weren't actually being solved, and we never took the time to see what he has a problem. Do you know what his problem is? When I'm being serious, he can't help but laugh when he.
No, I was thinking you're like, well, because we had a connection. We did have a great connection.
Actually. We did. Yeah. We did have a good connection. We did, but I do think it kind of band-aided bigger issues that we didn't really want to look at, and those issues, again, it's reframing and saying, I believe we are winning. We're choosing the way for our family and our relationship to win right now. We're not choosing to call this a failure. This is what works for us. And I don't know if you want to add anything.
It's certainly been a lot more peaceful in the last few months. Like I just said, I don't know, 15 minutes ago, it's been a lot better. And most important for us is what the environment that we can create for the kids, because that was probably one of the deciding factors, is when things just started to spill over to the kids being around some of our fights and whatnot. And that's when we realized that things have definitely just gotten a little bit out of hand, and we need to we just have to make some really big decisions. And thank goodness, though, things have gotten so much better just since creating a little bit more space for each other, and then it's just gotten so much better between us for the kids' sake. That's the most important thing.
And I think one thing I want to point out, I have on my social media, there's a really awesome quote. It says, what messes us up most in life is the picture in our heads of how it's supposed to be. And I have to say, for me, because there is going into this next chapter of my life, and just this in general, I remember marrying Chris and I said, I will never get divorced no matter what, because in my mind, divorce wasn't never supposed to happen the first time. And sure as shit was not supposed to happen the second time. And that I really have had a major struggle with that aspect, because here I am. It's just, I almost feel like there's this scarlet letter. It's like, I am like twice divorced female with 4 kids, 2 from 2 different dads. And, but it is what it is. And there's a lot of things I can control, and there's a lot of things I can't control. But I also, what I can control, it's like, hey, I can't control the fact that right now, this is where I'm at in my life. What I can control is the idea in my head of what life is supposed to be like. And I would say for the past, with the exception of the past like 6 weeks, 8 weeks, maybe 6 weeks, I have been hyper emotional. And if sometimes it's been apparent on my social media, and maybe you can kind of connect the dots now. It's been really, 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 really tough, you guys. Like this is, even if you, it is, I have been grieving the loss I've been grieving a death. Both Chris and I can only speak for my process. I can't speak for Chris's, and I'll let him do that. But I have been grieving the death of something that is better off. I do believe, and I agree, it is better off another way, but it's still grieving the loss of something that means so much to me. And I know our family is still going to be a family. I do know that. But, I would have moments where we would sit and, for example, watch the Modern Family finale, and we were all here, and just seeing that Modern Family finale, they were a family breaking up after 10 years. I couldn't not cry that night, because it's just, there are so many wonderful times. Yeah, it was such,
that night,
yeah,
too.
such
We actually all cried together that night.
We did.
Yeah.
It was such a beautiful chapter. And I think I've had to really work on shifting my view of what life is. Life isn't supposed to be anything. Life is supposed to be what works best for us. And what works best for me is not what works best for you, is not what works best for you or you or you or you or anybody. It's what works best for me. And same. And that's why even in Chris's choices, I don't have the right to judge what he knows is best for him,
Yeah. No, I feel the same way. And there's more peace now. There's more happiness. And it's simple as that.
Yeah. And another thing, I know another way that I'm not even going to go into that. There's so many good questions. I really don't want to go into. There's so many directions I can go. Guys, I'm going to start answering some of your questions. How about that? I feel like this one got answered. Someone says, you were very open once about the troubles of saving your marriage with a 30-day challenge. What made it impossible this time? I think we answered that in my mind. In my mind, if you guys couldn't make it, there's no hope for the rest of us. So I want to nip that in the bud. Hold on. But being realistic, I would like to learn from you no matter what. You are totally an example of what we can achieve. Thank you, first of all. That Nadia, I appreciate that. There are a lot of votes there. I do want to nip that in the bud, because I do not agree. And that I have to say, one of my hardest parts about addressing this with the general public or announcing it was I knew, and Chris and I would joke and kind of like also be a little shameful, maybe. I knew the perspective that the world had of Chris and I was #relationship goals. And it crushed my heart for you guys to see what I know was a pillar of hope and strength, to quote unquote come to an end. And I want to flip that, because number one, like I said, it's not coming to an end. Number two, it's only getting better. It just looks a little bit different. But then I also want you guys to know, you cannot use my failures or what you perceive as a failed marriage or Chris's. You cannot use that to dictate your life. You cannot. One thing I know, we get to make the life that we want no matter what. Yeah, I didn't really want 2 times divorce, but guess what? Here's where I'm at. And I'm going to make the most incredible life I can possibly make out of this for you. If you, Nadia, want a happy, loving marriage, I promise you there are ways to do it. I can hyperanalyze mine and Chris's relationship. I can hyperanalyze mine and Derrick's, and I can tell you where we went wrong in both of them. I can say where I went wrong in all of them. I can say where maybe, hey, it would have made a difference if this and this and this for them. But I really, really, really do believe if 2 willing parties want nothing more than to make your relationship work, I promise you on my life, that's a big promise. But if two people in a relationship value and prioritize marriage first, and you both are hyper committed to making that marriage last, there is nothing at all that will get in the way of that. I know that without a doubt. Now, I'm sure that then turns the question on us. So why, with you and Chris, I'm going to lay out priorities. We will say priorities.
We're both guilty of this.
Well, and when you and I came together, wouldn't you say it's fair to say that we did not come together for a relationship at first? We came together as we for this vision. Truly, the very first thing we came together for. I wanted to help him clean up his life. That was the very first thing. And then I kind of started, I saw what he enrolled me in his vision and his mission, and I loved it. And I loved him, and I fell in love with the person that he was. And, you know, you had said, there are no exceptions. No girl will ever be good enough. And I was like,
No, I
oh,
didn't say
I
that.
don't think you said good enough.
No,
You said,
no.
you said there, what was your thing about girls?
We really shouldn't
Okay, we
rehash
won't
this
go there.
conversation at all, but I just said
But in my mind,
there are no exceptions.
there are no exceptions. That was his thing. He said there are no exceptions. And I'm like, oh, I want to be the exception. Challenge accepted. But so, you know, and we did decide, and he was hands down the, at the time, 100%, and you still do. You made me want to be a better person. Like being around you was so invigorating in that way. And I wanted to be a part of everything you wanted to do. And one of the things you want to do was have a family. And I think even family and kids and the idea came before the idea of a marriage for us. And then when kids came along,
in fact, I'd even convinced her dad, because I did not want to get married at all. I convinced her dad, who's a very traditional man, that we were going to be life partners.
True story.
And I don't know how it happened, but he actually gave us his blessings. Like after like a long and heated hour-long conversation in his office between me and him, he walks out. He's like, "You got my blessing. You guys can be life partners."
True story.
And she looks at me. She's like,
"I know. My dad was a big, tough, strong guy."
And I'm like,
Chris has that way with people. He can sell anybody on his vision, on his mission, which is great. It's a great thing. And
we're life partners now.
We are. We are. And then here's where I wouldn't say we went wrong. I was like, hey, you want a baby? You're gonna have to put a ring on it. I literally did. And so we ended up getting that is how the proposal happened. I said, if you want a baby, I can't marry. I have 2 other kids. Like I want this example for them. And he's like, okay, cool, let's go get married. So we went and got hitched.
We got married a week later.
5 days later. It was 5 days later. But we've said it on social media too. Our marriage has never been as important as our, I'm going to use the word relationships, like plural, the different ways that Chris and I connect. Those are more valuable to me. There's always been more depth. And I think you felt the same way. And then you add the expectation that kind of, in fact, one of the reasons we didn't want to get married, and one of the reasons we tattooed on my ring finger, it's my best friend in his handwriting, and his says my best friend in my handwriting, is because we didn't want the world's views of marriage to tell us who we needed to be for each other. And I think we did a pretty good job. So kind of going back to your question, there is hope for you. But I would say if you want your marriage needs to be the number one priority. And you both need to be very committed to making it work at any expense. Does that make sense?
100%.
Yeah.
And I agree wholeheartedly.
Yeah.
For going back to with us, it was not like that. You know, and I look back and I think about coulda, woulda, shoulda, like if we could do it all differently. Yeah, I know a lot of people, and we were just talking about this the other day. A lot of people are like, you know, I'm glad I'm glad of everything I've been through because it made me who I am today. Yeah, me too. But there's a few things that I'd always like to do differently, just in full transparency.
But butterfly effect. You don't want to do that, and you are going to be the strong person you are.
But really going back to priorities, like it's been the mission. And when the kids came along, it was the kids and it was the family and it was all this, and we just did not take the time, even at the request of so many of our family and our friends and our loved ones. They kept saying, "You guys need to take time for each other," and we just didn't. And there was always this urgency of, oh, well, you know, we need to do this, and this opportunity came up, and the kids and all this, and we took a back burner. We were probably number 3, like, or 4 or 5 on the list. Our marriage was.
The marriage was. Not the friendship.
No. And
but
different. Through that, our individual personalities just started growing stronger and stronger and stronger. And like we were running our own ships, doing our own thing, and then when we would come together, we're like, "Oh, I disagree." Well, no, I disagree. Well, then we need to do it my way. No, we need to do it my way. And it's like, so it just created a ton of turmoil that I never even didn't see it coming.
Yeah.
And then it grew and grew and just,
No.
yeah.
So someone says, I was so saddened by the news. I've always admired your relationship with Chris and your children. What's your advice for young couples that work together? I think this is a really good one. Do you want to answer first? What's your
Yeah.
advice for young couples that work together?
Like going back to what I was just saying, set a date night. I mean, how many people told us to do that we didn't do it? You got to take some time, at least 1 day a week, and just reconnect. And by the way, like they always told us, leave your phones at home. The few times that we actually agreed to do a date night, we would get out there, and it was just, oh, did you get that email? Oh, hey, did you send that correspondence out to so and so? Did you do this? Did you do that? And it was just
almost like we don't know how to be now if we're not working together, because it's been ingrained in us from the beginning. Even our staycations, it was like the idea was to go and have a staycation, but our priority as a couple, and when I say couple, I'm not even talking about marriage, has always been to make an impact in the world. And then it was the kids came along. So our priority as a couple then was, okay, our kids and making an impact in the world. And so our dynamic will almost always was centered around that. So if I were to say advice for young couples that work together, I think the most important thing, you too, if you're thinking about working with your significant other, or if you currently do, I think you guys need to have a serious sit down and say, okay, what is the most important thing to us? What are our priorities? Are we together? Are we united because we are here to make a difference and run this business? Oh, and the relationship comes second, right? It's kind of a fun little icing on the cake. Or is our relationship the priority? And you know what? I love doing business with you because I love you. I really do think that you need to identify where your priority is. What is your big rock? You need to figure that out. And I don't think any answer is wrong. So if your answer is, hey, our unity is based around work first, or our vision first, or this business, and this is a fun thing. Like, this is such a bonus that you and I have chemistry and we, can be lovers or whatever. But, if that's your priority, great. If the other one is your priority, like, hey, we are together, we are ride or die no matter what. You need to be willing to let the business go if something gets in the way of that priority. And same with Chris and I, we knew what our priorities were as a couple, as a unity. And so we knew, hey, we'd be willing to take the piece of paper and rip it up if it means we can have a better relationship together. Does that make sense?
And
common understanding.
It's working. Our relationship is actually getting better now, which is, I mean, go figure that, which was the objective of all this in the first place. So
yeah. Okay, I'll let you answer this first. Someone says, oh, you had the pleasure of meeting us. I think we had the pleasure of meeting you. Good
to see you again,
yes,
by the way.
Yes. My question is, how do you deal with stress besides working out? And are you going to stay in Arizona? And do you think this pandemic changed you in any way? Good questions.
Do you want to go first?
Yeah, I'm good. That's fine. Okay, so how do we deal with stress? Lately, let's see. I do think my biggest way to deal with stress, especially with this, communication. Like I would take communication over a massage. I would take it over a workout. I would take it over. I mean, granted, I love massages and I love workouts, but for me, if I'm working out and I'm getting a massage to deal with stress, but I'm not allowing this to come out either in my head or be processed with somebody, the stress just builds and builds and builds and builds. I really value honest feedback. I value people telling me their perspective and them knowing that they're not going to hurt me with their opinion. And I like making changes based on it. When I vent, I'm not venting just to vent. I'm venting because I want to fix the problem. And so I think that's how I deal with stress. Chris, how do you deal with stress?
I'm a little bit more introverted, and I definitely don't communicate as much with other people.
Music is definitely my thing, and
For
so
sure.
I found myself playing the piano a lot and the guitar, just because it's kind of like my meditation, my time to to just reflect. And I've done a lot of exploring in that time, just dealing with the stress of it all. So that's definitely been my thing. And also, gosh, this is going to sound so nerdy.
Oh, I'm like, what? Do I need to stop you from
No,
saying it?
but in the most wonderful way. And I know, like, we talk about this a lot, but like
Yeah.
self-improvement. I'm working on my next certification. And I actually, believe it or not, I started it not because I want another certification, just because I want to continue to grow. And and by the way, the moment I start, I'm always like, oh my gosh, this is great information. Oh wow, I can apply this. Oh, this is great. And so like for me, just going through a big life change like this, I just focus on how can I grow as a person through this, because if I don't do that, then I'll have a tendency to withdraw, and then that's sometimes when destructive behaviors can get a hold of you. And so I always like to get ahead of that and just focus on my own self-improvement first. And so that's really helped me.
I think that's really, really good. I think I'm actually going to go into another question that I have been asked based off of what you just said, because it is very different, ending one chapter and going to the next. And I know, just speaking of my divorce with Derrick, I didn't realize until I went through it, just the identity crisis it was going to set me in. I thought I knew who I was, but in actuality, when I got out of it, or we had kind of split, and as long as the kids were there, I was good. But then the weekend the kids would go to Derrick's house, I would sit there and be like, who the hell am I? Like, I didn't know who I was. It's funny because I knew who I was when I was attached to Derrick. I didn't know who I was separate from him. And I know going into this, I was well aware that would be the case. And you remember, I mean, I went through months. Remember when I would cry to you, I'd say, I know who I am, and I know my strength, and I know my courage, and I know my value as as Heidi Powell and your wife. But what happens when I was so scared, like that, cutting off that appendage, like that, it was like cutting my body in half, I felt like, and I didn't know what the other half of me looked like. And so it was so important for both of us. And we spoke very openly as we individuate is the right word. And we kind of go off on our own paths, but also understanding that we are very united in a lot of what we do too. But we explore, and we kind of we spread our wings a little bit. It was very important for me to create, I get to decide who I want to be. Chris, like you're saying, you get to decide who you want to be and what you want to do next. And having a goal and having something to work toward, and feeling the accomplishment that comes with self-improvement in any way, shape, or form, and accomplishment is huge. If I didn't have that, if I was dealing with this by way of alcohol or any other unhealthy coping mechanism, I would be a complete mess. But also, and there was a question someone asked, how has the pandemic changed us? The pandemic's been amazing. I honestly could not have terrible because of what the world is going through. So I want a disclaimer. I want to blanket with that. But me finding the silver lining, it has been incredible in the way that I can't think of a better time in our life for this to have happened, because we already, kind of knew the direction our life was going, and it allowed us time to be stuck together and quarantined together. Again, bright spots in a dark situation. There were days, but it was really good because we got to talk through things, and we were forced in the most beautiful way to spend more. We had to stop flying and stop traveling, which was all. I can't imagine my kids having gone through this without you and I both, and Derrick, who was at our house every day, with our kids going through this without us loving on them and showing them. Like you always say, actions speak louder than the words. Us telling our kids everything's going to be fine didn't mean anything unless they could see it, and they not only see it, but they needed to feel it. So quarantine and the pandemic timing, I'm going to choose to say that the timing worked in our favor and allowed 100%. Us time to hunker down
and communicate. with each other and with our kids. The timing for us, I think it was beyond coincidence for us. It was supposed to happen for us. And again, terribly sorry for what's happened, obviously, with the rest of the world. But it's been a really amazing few months for us. And like when we talk about the fact that we've just found ourselves finding more peace, finding more happiness, I think it was because we were actually all put under the same roof, and we actually had to work through it. We had to communicate and talk through everything and be there with the kids through the whole time. So it was good. It was really, really good.
Oh, hold on. Good question. Derrick just showed me a question. He says, wait, read it again. I have really bad memory. Okay, question is, where do you get your strength in such hard times? Chris, why don't you? That's a very good question. Chris?
Well, I
pass it up to you. Chris, answer the question.
So I definitely found myself gravitating toward my kids a lot, toward the kiddos, just because, just to feel that love and that connection with them. I think I find peace with my kids, and I find happiness there, not so much strength. Strength for me throughout this whole process has come from doing a lot of reflection on who I am and what I personally am here on earth to do.
Yeah.
I know, and I'm blessed to have identified my mission and what I am devoting my life to. And I am so committed to that. That's where I find hope. I find strength. I find all that when I think about what I'm dedicating my life to. It brings me. It fills my heart, and it gives me the strength and the belief to know that we're going to make it through this just fine, and we're going to create something genuinely amazing. And I'm not just saying this, but blessed to have all of us going through this together, because we're doing it together.
Yeah.
Like I have a mission, but she's a part of that mission. And it just doesn't look the way that a lot of people thought it was going to look in the long run, even according to us. This is all a little bit different, but the mission remains the same. And I'm excited about that.
I'm going to answer mine in a second, but I just want to comment on yours. I believe, and I've said this too, there's never been a time, those are two different sentences. I believe will come next. So let me start the sentence. There has never been a time in our unity, and you can attest to this, that I've ever not believed in him and his value and his power and his, I do believe, and I've said this in many interviews, that Chris was put on this earth for a reason, and I do believe he's fulfilling it. And my that will never change, no matter how upset, how we're gonna go through fights. We are going to have fights as we kind of go through this stuff, but that will never change. I believe he was put on this earth to make a major impact, and he knows that, and his mission, his vision. I have always been so insanely honored to be a part of his. I've been honored to be able to create a mission together, and then I've been honored to have him help me see that I too need to have a mission of my own, but I've never met somebody that is so single-minded toward their mission to change the world as this guy right here. It's not fake like what you guys see. He does work tireless hours because he believes he's made to change the world, and I believe he is too. I know you are.
Look, I'll be the first to admit, I am not a completely balanced person.
Yes, you are. So we talked about this on podcast. Balance is different for you than it is for them. Remember, I've told you this.
It is very different. Yes, 100%.
And you are balanced just for you to get to where you need to go and to find that peace is heavily.
It skews off to one side of the spectrum. if you put me in a spectrum
balanced
with all of humanity, I'm definitely skewed off to one side.
But it works,
guys. It works it works for me, and for me that's what matters.
And I think, and I kind of, you and I have had talks about this, what your balance is, Chris, today isn't necessarily going to be your balance in 5 years. Like in 5-10 years, you might be like, hey, like I really want to go sit on a beach with somebody and chill and enjoy whatever. And like nobody, I don't think anyone has the right. Yeah, they all have the right to judge because they are themselves. They don't have the right for you to care about their judgment. Like, because that is your balance right now. That is what brings you peace. That is what brings you happiness. And I can't even judge it. I can't make a judgment call on it. I appreciate and I support it. Okay, going back to the question, what brings me strength in hard times? Okay, it's a good question. So yes, everything I do it for my kids and I do it for my family and I do it for my own sense of accomplishment and I do it for the world. Like there's so many reasons why I do things, but what brings me strength in hard times is the faith I have in that everything will work out exactly the way it's supposed to. And the faith I have in my ability to be guided and led and in a way where I can flow through life and make everything work for me and my family. And I get nerves, I have anxiety, I have fear. Obviously hopping on here was one of them. I don't have a lot of fear over how I firmly believe I am exactly where I need to be at all times. I do. And I whether you want to call it a higher power or God or whatever you want to call it, I do believe, I believe that there's something bigger. I do. And that to me, like when times are really, 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 really hard, I'm like, all right, you know what? I'm where I need to be. Like that lesson right there, that biatch, that's like that struggle that's coming toward me, like that is something I obviously need for a reason. So I'm going to hit it head on and I'm going to cry and I'm going to struggle and it's going to hurt like hell. And I'm going to learn so much from it. And from that, whatever I learned from it, I'm going to share it with this person. My kids are going to see it. We're going to go through it together. I'm going to love and support them through it. I have so much faith in, I don't know what. I have faith in life. I have faith in a higher power. I have faith in just the flow. I don't know if that makes sense.
That does.
But that's how I feel.
Sure.
I have faith in my ability too. I do. Let's see. One thing I do want to go into before I go, as we go into this next phase, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we're in it. I think there are certain things that I pep talks that I'm giving myself, and I want you to add into, like things that I am constantly having to remind myself of. And I've said it before, obviously, because of the divorce that I went through with Derrick. I feel like I am prepared for a lot of it. One of them is identity, right? It's like one of my pep talks is I get to be whoever I want to be. Like I get to be me. And this time around, where last time around, I cared so much about what other people think. This time around, I care about how I feel. I care about how my family feels. That is first and foremost. And I hope from that, I can actually shine as a person and it will give light and lessons to everybody else out there. But if it, I care, that's understanding who I am is a big one. And knowing that I'm not going to waver as a human. I'm not going to waver in who I am to make other people happy. I think that's a really, really big lesson that like a pep talk that I'm constantly giving myself, like, be you, Heidi, like, do you, and don't worry about what anybody else thinks. That's a big one.
Yeah.
What about for you?
I like that one. It's a good question.
Right, well, I can jump into another one. It'll probably, another one I can think of.
Give me 5 minutes.
Okay, you think. Realistic expectations. We talk about realistic expectations all the time in every single area of our life. Like we talk about it in transformation. We talk about it in career. If you expect, and it's that whole quote, what messes us up most in life is the idea in our heads of how it's supposed to be. If you think it's supposed to be a certain way, that's an expectation that you have set in your life. Disappointment is always, always, always the result of unmet expectation. It's just the way that it is. If you think of any area of your life that you are unhappy in, or you are disappointed. Think about it. Every area that you're disappointed in, just think for a sec, everyone on here, okay, you're unhappy because you expected it to be one way and it didn't go that way. So maybe you're unhappy because your spouse didn't take out the trash. You had the expectation that your spouse is going to take out the trash and he didn't do it. So you're mad. Even if he said he did, you had the expectation that he was going to follow through and he didn't do it. Right. So another one. Yeah.
Is this lessons that we're learning from this? What's
and
the
being
question?
pep talks to the future, whatever you want to say.
Oh, okay.
So
I
with
was like, I was trying to draw the parallel between, so set realistic expectations for the future. Okay.
So just on that note, just to finish that off,
Yeah.
I think it's super important for me to know this is a big one going into any divorce. I think it's very, 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 and this will answer a question that a lot of you guys have had. The grass is not greener on the other side. It's not. The grass is greener where you water it. And I do want you guys to know that neither of us are ending this thinking that there is happiness over there. It has nothing to do with that. Because if we believed that happiness was there, that puts us into the category of lottery syndrome. Lottery syndrome is you think you're going to win the lottery, and not even you think, like, if only I could win the lottery, then I'll be happy. If I had 10 million, 20 million, $50 million, then I'd be happy. And what happens is those people live their life to win the lottery. And if they win it, which they probably won't, but if they do, they are always, you can actually pull up stories. People are more unhappy when they win the lottery than when they didn't have any money at all. And that happens on our show. People think when I get to my final weigh-in, then I'm going to be happy. They get to their final weigh-in. They didn't listen to us where we said, no, you create happiness, you create integrity, you create dignity along the way. Enjoy the journey, enjoy the process more than the result. They didn't listen. And the people that lived for that final day, they lived for the number on the scale, are all inevitably disappointed. Very unrealistic expectation. And so with me, in my life, something I have to keep in mind, I have to remind myself, I don't expect at all. Like, this for me is not, and neither is it for Chris. Like, oh, happiness is over there. Not at all. In fact, on the other side, and I've had many conversations, it's going to be hard as hell. It is, no matter what. Like, life is going to be hard, and it's going to have pain, and there's going to be bumps, there's going to be bruises. And I don't know, I don't know if I'll ever get married again. And that for me is okay, because I have to understand that where I am in my life in this process that I'm going through, that's where true happiness is. Like, right now, in this moment, with the people here, with you here, Derrick, like, me being here right now that's where my happy is. That's where my peace is. And I know I have to stay there or I am screwed. I have to remember to be present in the moment and to have realistic expectations for the future.
Yeah, that's really good.
Thank
That's
you.
really good.
Thank you. You've probably heard me say a gazillion times.
I have. Do you want me to chime in on?
Chime in. I can go do another one. I just
start another life lesson. Do what you say you're going to do when you say you're going to do it.
Integrity. That's a
right.
big one. That's a big one. Well, what was funny? Can I just talk about your post? Chris posted last night. It was really funny. I was going to comment and I didn't.
Mm-hmm.
It was like rules to happiness,
yeah,
or something like that, right?
Yeah.
Number 1 said, be on time.
By the way,
I almost commented as a joke and said, you guys want to know why we didn't work out? Here we go.
Well,
it was a joke.
Yeah, it was rules that you don't need to have skill or talent for. And it's
it's a skill. Being on time is a skill that I have not developed fully yet. And I'm working on it.
It's like, have a good attitude, bring a strong work ethic.
I got that.
Be on time. It's little things that are the big things. And like, of course, I've legit built my life on that. Trust me, there are trainers out there that are way smarter. But at the same time, it's just like, check out the post.
It's a good one. It's a really good one.
I'm telling you, if you could just bring that, no matter what world you live in, what career you have, whatever you're in, if you bring those things, it's just like, it works. It really works. Okay. So, as far as a pep talk, is this a pep talk for other people or a pep talk for
anything?
myself?
You get to, this is our blank canvas, Chris.
So the pep talk that I always give myself, and I say this probably 20 times a day, don't forget what you're here to do. Don't forget what you're here to do. don't forget what you're here to do. I remind myself that over and over and over again. I'm telling you, it's the way I function, and I have for 12 years, and beyond that, for probably 20 years. Even if you go back and you ask my old college buddies, they'll always tell you, they will all tell you, they're like, you were always on a mission. And I identified it early, and it resonated with my heart so much. I've never left that mission. I'm here to do something, and that it just keeps me going. It keeps me making progress in life, but in multiple aspects of my life. Because remember, like when I say what am I here to do, there are multiple facets of that.
As a dad,
a great father for my children. I'm like, and this might sound righteous, but I might not completely achieve it, but if I can make a dent in this, like I am.
He already has. I think we could all vote. You were doing
obesity-related suffering from humanity. Like I want to create, and I will, and I have, and I will continue to create those solutions. Like that's because I see so many people suffering, and it's like I am just so fixated on creating a solution. Like it keeps me going. And again, I mean, everyone can have their own opinion on whether or not that would work for them, but it works for me, and I just remind myself over and over, what am I here to do? This is what I'm here to do.
Well, I think it's safe to say there. I don't think anyone on here can name a human on Earth that is living or has lived that has made even close to as big of a dent as you have in that way. I really, and even if they have made a dent, the reality is there's not any of them that actually, some of the people that have made dents are faces, right? They're brands where you truly, there is so much passion behind you. And there's no one that we come.
And I love it because now Heidi has always believed me like this, and she's always been my biggest cheerleader. And but it's even hard to hear that because like the moment you say that, I immediately think I'm like, I haven't even started.
I know.
We're not even close to where we need to be.
I know.
And so it's like, why we can't celebrate yet? There's nothing to celebrate because the mission is not because people's lives have not all been changed. Some have been changed, but not all of them. So it's just.
But that's what keeps you driving. And I think though, so that's where balance for us over the years and still to come is going to be a good thing because you are very much a perfectionist and you've always wanted to have like the app. If Sunny didn't rip the app out of your hands and make you launch it, like the books, if I didn't rip the book out of your hands and say, Chris, it's good enough, the people, they're either going to have, they need something as opposed to nothing. Like we are always going to be a great team because your desire to give every bit of yourself to the world is unmet. Like there's, but then I also,
it's always nice to have that balance.
Yeah, it is. Because again, your desire it's analysis paralysis sometimes. And for me, I'm like, okay, let's do it. Let's do this. So we are a really good balance in that way. The other thing I think that like a pep talk that I have with myself, and this kind of goes, I mean, I touched a little bit on it. It's, obviously I was talking about identity moving forward this next phase. There's also a massive amount because I know who I am with you. And I actually am starting to see who I am as a person too, but it's taken months. Having belief in myself outside of belief that maybe I got from you was a really hard thing. Like I mean, I took a media trip shortly after we kind of had decided, started weighing out different options. And I remember calling you. I called everyone that I knew because that's, again, communication is what I do in hard times. And I just was like, who am I to have this? Like if I'm not connected to Chris, and it was a full meltdown. Like if who am I? Like, I don't deserve this. There's a feeling of that unworthiness that I know I preach on social media for you guys to ignore and combat. You need to know that I feel that too. I have a hard time believing in myself sometimes. I have a hard time feeling confident. And so for me, continually surrounding myself with people that believe in me is so vital to me. People that believe in me and do not let self-doubt get in my way. Like that's massive, 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 massive.
Yeah.
And I can't have people that are just like,
systems
oh,
that are
Heidi,
good.
whatever you think. No, I need people that say, Heidi, no, you can do anything you want. What do you want to do? No, you don't think you can. No, you can do this and you can do more. Like I need to hear that, because the reality is, if we don't believe in ourselves, guys, we will not put forth the effort to get to where we want to go. So even if we say, hey, I want to create a business of, I want to land on the moon, right? We'll just say I want to land on the moon. If we do not believe, if it's but deep down we don't believe it, we're not going to take the steps needed to get ourselves to the moon. However, if we believe it, and if we surround ourselves with the people that believe it, every single day we will take one small step toward the moon. We will. And someday we will land on the moon. And I have thank you to you, because I did not believe in myself before I met you. I didn't, like, plain and simple. I just didn't. But I want, like, I know that I can actually do anything I want to do.
Well,
and that was
we
from
fed
you.
off of each other in
Yes.
that, because again, they were not about us, but we were able to be each other's biggest cheerleader.
Without a doubt.
And because I was coming from a place where I was coming from some failures, which it's human, we're all going to go through it. You believed in me until I could believe in myself again. You were coming from a place where you did not believe in yourself, or you didn't dream or anything, and I believed
it was
in
your
you.
example.
I believed you could dream, and I kept asking you, what are you here to do? What is it you want to accomplish? So we can believe in each other. So again, not to make it about us, but like just
well, this is about us.
Transferring this over to your life, the power of your support system. I mean, they say you're the average of the 5 people that you spend the most time with. I mean, if you can just make a list of like the 5 people that you spend the most time with, and like ask yourself, like, oh, what is, like, do they believe in you? Do you believe in them? Where are they going in life? What is it that they like to do? And so it's like, if those people are like, I don't want to do anything, all I want to do is just go to Buffalo Wild Wings on Friday night.
That's going to be you.
Beer,
yep.
And talk about how terrible other people are. Guess what? Or if it's like, no, I'm hustling, I want to get here. Oh my gosh, like let's volunteer over this charity, because we're going to make a difference in the world. And da, 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 da. Guess what? That's going to be you too, and that certainly fills a longer term bucket for most of us, like for most humans. So yeah, just write down the 5 people that are closest to you, and then and really take a good look at who they are. Not to say it's not that they're good or bad or anything, but just help you make your own decision for where you want to go in life, and if it's in your best interest to keep them in your closest circle. Or remember, it's not about cutting people out of your life; it's just about expanding your circle. So expand it in a direction where you can embrace some other people that are going somewhere.
You literally just said, yeah.
We did that for each other, and we fed off it. And here's the thing is, we keep doing that for each other.
Yeah.
And we're going to. Nothing's going to change there at all. I support you 150%, and I know you support me, and we're going to keep this thing going.
Yeah, and all that to say too, just kind of what you guys see in on social media is not a lie. It's very, 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 very real. The only thing we didn't put on there, because we don't need to, is, hey, let's figure out how to keep this going forever. How can we not short term this? How can we make sure this is the longest lasting, most amazing, productive, peaceful, happiest dynamic possible for our kids and for ourselves?
And just to add to that, it's nice to say that, but you'll see it. Like, and that's what we're not worried about that at all. Because if you're like, wait, but you guys still get along great. Yeah, we do. And yeah, we're going to. In fact, we're going to get along even better. And do we have fun? Yeah, we have fun too. So just, again, don't take our word for it. You'll just see. Nothing's going to change.
And not to say we're not going to have hard times, because we will.
For sure.
We will, but we're going to have hard times no matter if we're married, no matter if we're not. It's like, I kind of, Chris and I have talked about it quite a bit. It's like, hey, do we fight with our business partners, right? We fight with them and then we kiss and make up. Yeah. Not really, but we make up with them very quickly. And there's nothing, Derrick and I fight, we get in little arguments. Fight's the wrong word. We have disagreements and things we can feel, we have sometimes hurt whatever feelings towards each other, and we work it out. Mm-hmm. Chris and I, no matter what, we're always going to have that. We're always going to have things that don't sit well. But we also understand the power we have to control a situation, to get the outcome that we want. And I think that's something that I don't foresee ever changing with us. I think we've been around the block in life and in this world, and it's been so nice to have the career path that we've had, and to be able to work with people of all walks of life and all sorts of struggles, because we have learned a lot, and we've learned what works and what doesn't. And
Yeah.
are we perfect? No, we're not perfect. Okay, Chris is pointing to the time.
Just because you
It is.
have to go somewhere.
I do.
So,
Guys, I just want to say thank you, guys. I mean, I would sit on here forever, and I appreciate, like, even looking at the retention here, you guys have stayed on for a very long time. And I appreciate you guys loving us and being respectful and allowing us space to be us. And I said it in my Instagram story, but I'm going to say it again. I appreciate that support from the people that understand. And I appreciate your compassion. And also for the people that don't understand. What I appreciate the most about you is that you, even though you don't understand, you are respecting and doing your best to allow us to be us. And thanks for always providing such a safe space for our family and for the community and for us. And I do want you to know we're not going anywhere. If anything, like Chris said earlier, I echo it. Our devotion to our family and to you guys is only getting stronger, and to ourselves as we navigate through this. And we are going to take you along for the ride in the way that as we learn lessons, 100% will be passing them along to you because it's important to me. I feel like I live life and I'm going through experience so that I can help other people. I feel like I've made mistakes in my past so that I could learn from them and help other people avoid or, get something out of it. So I love you guys. Thanks for being that for us. Thank you for everything you do. Thank you for, hey, you know what? Thank you, Chris.
thank you.
Yeah. How do we do this now? I'm kidding. I'm actually really, I'm kidding. Derrick, come here. Derrick, come and say. He's actually the one that makes all this go for me, by the way. Oh. Say, he doesn't want to say hi to you.
Sorry.
There he is. But you guys, I love you a ton. Thank you.
Love you guys.
I'll be back next week with an actual, a normal live. This was amazing. Thanks for helping ease my nerves. Noon Pacific Standard Time next Wednesday. I will be back. Love you guys.
See you guys.